What is going on, baseball fans? I am back. I am not Jordan Lazowski again. We've decided that I'm better. That's not actually true, but I am here instead. Joining me today, we've got James and Callie. How are we doing, y'all?
Good, thank you.
Broncos kickoff today. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's 20th episode of This Week in Baseball. Also, opening week of the NFL. I'm sure we have our fair share of crossover of NFL baseball fans alike. So, yeah, very exciting. A lot of sports. Sports are starting to really ramp up again. We're getting towards the end of the baseball season, so the playoffs are going to start here soon. Beginning of the NFL and college football season, which is always, fun and exciting. So, yeah, a lot of good times to be had here. Just like every other week on This Week in Baseball, we'll have our standings update, our Around the League, and then our 7th inning stretch, and we'll finish it off with our What to Watch for. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. So, if the season ended today, we'll start in the American League. Out east, the Tampa Bay Rays would win the East. The Chicago White Sox would win the Central, and the Houston Astros would win the West. Your wild card teams out there are Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Well, I guess technically the Toronto Blue Jays and the Yankees are tied. So for that second wild card spot. But yeah, we'll see how that all plays out there. Behind Toronto, you have Oakland and Seattle, both 2 games back as well. And then in the National League, the Milwaukee Brewers lead the Central. The Atlanta Braves lead the East, and the San Francisco Giants lead the West. Your wildcard teams out there are the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres and Cincinnati Reds tied for that second wildcard spot as well. So a lot of, most of the season we had no shifting in the playoff picture, and now all of a sudden we've got a lot of, the second wildcard spots are very wide open. It's really interesting to see as the season dwindles down here, but hey, it's September baseball, so you'll love to see it. Any comments from either of you about, standings at all?
I'd argue that the first wild card spot is wide open in the American League too, just because Boston's having their COVID issues. On a unrelated note, get the shot if you can.
Also true.
So go get it. But they're having COVID issues, and you're losing players like, I don't know, Chris Sale, your staff ace. That's not going to help you when the Yankees are right there, when the Blue Jays are right there, and there's the A's and the Mariners close behind. It's a good race, man. It
is a good. I kind of forget that the first wild card isn't 15 games up in the American League, so I kind of just forgot about that part. But yeah, any of those 5 teams? Yeah, any combination of those 5 teams can really take those 2 wild cards. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out here. But very exciting. Callie, you have anything to say about the wild card races?
Not about the wild card races. I just find it interesting how far ahead the Brewers are of the rest of the Central. I expected it to be a bit more competitive between the Reds and even the Cardinals for the top.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because, it was competitive for a while. There was maybe 3-game lead at any given point. But now they've jumped up to a 13-game lead in the division, which that division's all in that. That division decided. There's 20-something games left in the season, and you have a 13-game lead. Barring a historic, meltdown from the Brewers, which is inherent. It's possible, but unlikely. I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. So yeah, those are the standings updates. We'll see where we are next week, but it hasn't been a ton of change week to week, but let's see if that's changing because it seems to be the road we are going down currently. All right, moving on to Around the League in 60 seconds. Give me your best recap of everything that's gone on this past week, and we'll start with James.
Well, there was a no-hitter, so I
True.
think that's where we need to start. Corbin Burns, 8 innings, 14 strikeouts, 1 walk, dominant. I think he'll be the NL Cy Young winner this year now that he has the no-hitter to his list of accomplishments for this season. And Josh Hader just kind of slammed the door since Burns was at like 115 pitches through 8 innings. So that happened. The NL West, that's still a race. Giants and Dodgers are 2.5 games apart. And Giants have a tough schedule coming up, but they were able to cement their lead with wins against the Rockies and Cubbies. And the AL wild card is heating up as well. Blue Jays swept the Yankees. And the Yankees are kind of in a tailspin. You love to see it.
It's true. I do love to see it. I'll go on record again saying the Yankees deserve absolutely nothing. Anyway, Callie.
I think it's very possible we end up seeing a complete flip of how the AL wildcard scene has been for the past couple weeks. I think it's very possible we see both Boston and New York slide out of the wildcard spots. Boston obviously dealing with their COVID issues. Hopefully everything is resolved quickly. But also New York's scuffling badly. They went on an 8-game winning streak, but like James said, they got swept by Toronto, and they're still on a bit of a skid, even with all the help they got at the trade deadline. The A's have a bit of a weak schedule coming up. Currently, they're playing Texas. It's very possible that by next week, where Boston and New York are on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's really, really good points. There's a very good chance that wild card is completely different next week or by the end of the season. Personally, I'd love to see Oakland and Seattle get in because that's just fun. And, I like the A's. I like the Mariners a lot. I hate the Yankees. I'm fine with Boston, but I think it'd be more fun to see the chaos that ensues if Oakland and Seattle get in. But yeah, I think that's pretty much a lot of what's going on this week. It's not what we're going to be covering here on our Seventhinning stretch. So I guess that's the perfect time to jump right into our Seventhinning stretch. I'll be honest, I didn't know how to get rid of the this third one right here. So it's episode 20 because that's the episode we're on.
I like it.
So thank you. I'm very innovative.
Inventiveness.
Thank you. In case anyone forgot what episode we're on, it'll be there the entire time. Anyway, so Seventhinning stretch, let's dive right in. Inning 1, the Blue Jays put on quite the show yesterday against the Orioles, putting up 11 runs in both games of the doubleheader. And in the second game, they put 11 runs up in the 7th inning, which is the last inning of the doubleheader because it's dumb. But yeah, 11 runs in 1 inning. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit another home run yesterday and actually hit one this morning before recording this. And he currently leads the American League in average RBIs and now is tied with Ohtani in home runs. So here's my question. Do you think Vladdy can finish this year with the Triple Crown? And if he does that make him the MVP favorite, or is it still Shohei Ohtani? And we'll start with James.
It's Shohei's to lose. Unless he doesn't play for the rest of the year and Vladdy gets the Triple Crown, it's Shohei's. With the sabermetric voters becoming more popular, they're going to see the value that Shohei has brought to the Angels. And I think that eclipses the fact that the Angels suck. If this vote were happening 10 years ago, it would be Vladdy because the Blue Jays are actually in a playoff race. The Triple Crown, those are numbers that people are just generally comfortable with, even though there are better sabermetric numbers. But the game has changed, and because of that, I think it's Shohei's award.
Callie, what do you got?
We've seen this before, haven't we? A generational Angels player going up against a first baseman chasing the Triple Crown in MVP voting. We all know how that story last ended with Miguel Cabrera beating out Mike Trout for the award in 2012, but it was still a highly competitive race. What Trout doing was extremely good, don't get me wrong. But what Ohtani is doing is unprecedented, literally. We have no baseline comparison for Ohtani. There's been articles written about how he breaks advanced metrics like WAR because what he's done is incalculable. It's really difficult to see in any way how Ohtani loses the vote, even if he doesn't play, because what he's done so far this season is simply magical. If he was just a first baseman, he would still be in the MVP award vote. But he's combining that bat with an all-star level pitcher. It's insane, and quite frankly, if it's not unanimous, I think it's absurd.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's Ohtani's vote to lose, but there's still so much conversation around, can Vladdy win the MVP? And I think, granted, Vladdy's had a fantastic season. I don't want to take that away from him at all. But like you guys both brought up, Ohtani's having a generational season. Ohtani's having an incredible year that, there's a reason why he's continuously, compared to Babe Ruth. Better. So, yeah, I also think it's Ohtani's to lose. But honestly, with the way I know, James, you say, voters are starting to, favor the sabermetrics and kind of gravitate towards those a little bit. But I'm not sure if they're gravitating that way enough that if Vladdy wins the Triple Crown, that it won't go to him. You know what I mean? It should be Ohtani's, but
if Vladdy wins the Triple Crown and the Blue Jays are in the playoffs, it's a different conversation about who will actually win it versus who should win it.
Right. Yeah. I think it's, Ohtani's the most deserving candidate for the MVP. Like, he should be the most unanimous MVP we've seen in our entire lifetimes, but I'm still not sure it's going to happen. And, we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell. But, so moving on to inning number 2, Major League Baseball had its Hall of Fame induction this week, with Derek Jeter, Marvin Miller, Ted Simmons, and Larry Walker being inducted. However, this induction took place this past Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. This is obviously a very odd time to hold a ceremony like this, as it does not allow many people to watch a ceremony while it happens. Do you think MLB sees this as a problem? Is this something that hurts the growth of the game? And we'll start with Callie this time.
I don't think it's that big of an issue at all, really. I've never felt the desire to watch any Hall of Fame induction in any sport. I can't think of any particularly memorable Hall of Fame induction moment. I can't remember any quote or speech or whatever. All the Hall of Fame discussion occurs around Hall of Fame voting time, not the induction itself. Even then, most of the highlights of the players and remembrance of those players happens around the time of the voting and not around when they're actually inducted. I'm friends with a decent amount of Rockies and Yankees fans, and the day was joyous for them, obviously, but outside of them, I didn't really see anybody talking about it, and I don't think that's the fault of MLB. I just think for a lot of people, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony isn't a big deal.
James.
If you're growing the game, you shouldn't be focusing on baseball's past. You should be focusing on baseball's future. And in that sense, it doesn't really matter when you air the Hall of Fame induction, because if your favorite player was Derek Jeter growing up, you're an adult. You're not the target audience. While you may still be a Yankees fan or a baseball fan, that's great. You might watch that induction. But the MLB doesn't care if you watch it or not. Also, it's typically the Hall of Fame induction's typically done on a weekend. It's just COVID kind of pushed it back to September of this year instead of July of 2020 when Jeter, Walker, Simmons, and Miller were all supposed to receive this honor. But no, it's about celebrate the Hall of Fame inductions. It's about celebrating great players of the past. The MLB, if it wants to grow the game, should be trying to celebrate great players of the present, like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, for example, and great players of the future, like Juan Soto, Acuna, Tatis. Also, I'd like to add Oral Hershiser should be in the Hall of Fame.
That's good too. Yeah. I originally, when I wrote this question, I originally thought about it like, well, I mean, it's a big deal, and like a lot of other sports make big deals about their Hall of Fame inductions, and by that I think it's mostly me thinking football, because like I think the NBA Hall of Fame induction was also this past week, but I'm also not 100% sure, which also kind of proves my point. Like, yeah, I think it's a very, very good point. If you're trying to grow the game, focus on the future, not necessarily the past, because if your favorite player was Derek Jeter or Larry Walker, you are not below the age of 10 years old. Like, that's just a fact. So I don't know. I would like, and also in the the day and age of social media, like if you really want to go watch those speeches, you can go watch them whenever you want. Like, but there aren't a ton of people going back and rewatching them anyway. That aren't guys who or people who watched these players growing up. So I think those are all very good points. Bringing up it's not for the growth of the game really. It's for the audience you already have. So. All right, moving on. Inning number 3. The San Diego Padres have been on a major scuffle. They're 5-5 in the last 10 and have gone 14-20 since the start of August. This has opened the door for the second NL wildcard spot, as we can it's the Dodgers, the Giants are going to have that first one. We know that. That's just a fact. Yeah, as of right now, the Padres and the Reds are tied for that second wildcard spot, like mentioned earlier in our standings update, with the Cardinals 2 games back, the Phillies 2.5 games back, and the Mets 4 games back. Who is taking this last playoff spot and why? We'll start with James.
Well, I don't like the Padres, so it's the Reds. The Dodgers fan doesn't like the Padres. A big shocker, I know, but they're scuffling. Like Diego mentioned, they fired their pitching coach a few weeks ago, and things haven't really improved. Like, I guess they went from playing like the worst team in Major League Baseball to not doing their best Baltimore Orioles impression every night and being average. So I guess that's an improvement, but they still got a bunch of games against the Dodgers and the Giants left, including tonight against Max Scherzer. I think they have like
10 against the Giants left. I know that.
Yeah, and they have another series against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium.
So about 13 of their last 21.
Yeah,
so.
It's a tough. That's tough. That's a tough stretch. Of course, they made it when they thought the Giants wouldn't be good this year, but that's still a tough stretch. Even if it's division rivals are always tough. So I think it's hilarious. I've said that before. I'll say it again. It's hilarious that they're choking. Come at me, Padres fans. I don't care. Don't throw yourselves a parade for beating the Cardinals in the wild card series. But as for who will actually be in that wild card spot, it's going to be the Reds. Easy schedule. They've been playing well since the second half of the season. Will it mean anything? No, because whoever doesn't win the NL West will just destroy them in the wild card game. But you can say, hey, we made it to the playoffs. And I don't think that's what the Padres will be saying.
Fair. Callie, as kind of like a pseudo Padres fan, what do you got?
If we're just analyzing these teams on their own basis and metrics, I think the Padres are the best team of the bunch. Their pitching staff has been decimated by injuries. Darvish. Who's the guy who only throws sliders?
There's a lot of them. That doesn't really help.
Yeah, I'm at the starter. Anyway, their pitching has been decimated by injuries, but I think that their offense is just so explosive, especially now that Tatis is back from injury, that I think if we were just analyzing these teams on their quality of roster, I think that the Padres would be the best. But like you guys mentioned, the difficulty of their upcoming schedule against both the Giants and the Dodgers, two of the best teams in baseball, probably the two best teams in baseball, it's very much not looking good for them. Looking at the Reds, their offense isn't as good, but they have two amazing starters in Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo. Two guys, whenever they're on the mound, you can feel confident in your team's chances of getting the win. They also have that great bullpen that I think makes up for the fact that even though their offense isn't as explosive, they still have the firecrackers of Castellanos and Winker. That's enough to, combined with their rotation and bullpen, it's enough to power them to the playoffs. They're the more well-rounded team than the Padres, and as the season comes to an end, I think that's going to be what pushes them over the edge compared to the Padres.
Yeah. So I mean, Castillo's been really bad this year. He's not or been great. I'd say what's his name? Wade Miley's been better than Castillo this year. But either way, I think they do still have two solid starters, and Castillo can show up when in big spots. Like, he's proven that he is a good, high-quality starting pitcher. Just hasn't had it this year necessarily. But yeah, I think it's going to be the Reds as well. The Padres, their schedule is just, I think, too tough. They've got too many difficult games left, and the fact that their morale is, I'd say, pretty low right now. They just haven't had it over the last month and a half. But I mean, they could very well prove me wrong. Like Callie, you were saying, they do have the talent. The talent on that roster is incredible. They just haven't been using it. They haven't really had it show up when they needed to. But I think that can really change the switch at a point. But yeah, we'll see. I hope it's the Reds as well. I hope it's not the Cardinals for the sake of Diamond Digest. And anyone who follows any Cardinals fans on Twitter or knows in real life. I think it'd be interesting to see the Phillies make it. I think they do have an outside chance, and I don't think the Mets have much of it either. But I'd like to see the Reds. I think that's a fun team as well. Moving on to our fourth inning number 4. Here we go. Fact or fiction. Wander Franco's 39-game on-base streak, most of any AL player under the age of 20. This is a feat that we will not likely see broken again. We'll go to Callie.
There's a lot of factors, I think, that affect this. None of them are related to actual on-field. I think it all has to do with rule changes, both in the competitive, not competitive balance, like the
collective bargaining.
Yes, collective bargaining agreement, and depending on rule changes for the mound and whatever. I think that if we do see a rule change that moves the mound back or anything else to more balance the game of baseball in favor of the hitter, I think it becomes more likely that this gets broken. Also, I think that if something involving the manipulation of service time is added into the CBA, we're going to see more younger players in the majors, which I think increases the amount of players that could break this record. And as I said before, I think if we see a change in rules that make it so that pitchers have less of an advantage over batters, it makes it more likely that it gets broken.
James, what do you got?
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Fact, Wander Franco's on-base streak will not be broken. You don't see many players that young. He's only a few months older than me, and he's in the majors. I'm not in the majors. Also,
you're in college.
He has advanced plate discipline, unlike many players that are his age. So while we don't see many 20-year-olds in the majors, and we don't see many 20-year-olds who walk as much as they strike out in the majors. So there could be more younger players in the majors, as Callie alluded to, with rule changes on the horizon. But Franco's elite, and unless some young guy has an elite skill set like his plate discipline, I don't think it'll be broken.
Yeah, I think those are really, really good points. I really like the point of the the service time manipulation. I think that's going to have a huge factor moving forward, because if we find ways to avoid the service time manipulation, there's no reason for clubs, if they have a 20-year-old who's clearly ready for the majors, they're gonna bring him up because he can help the team, and if they're not gaining anything, giving him down, then they'll be bumped up to the majors. And I do also really like the mentioning how Wander's, like, his play has been insane. His ability to draw walks, get hits, get on base at all is just incredible to watch. We got to remember, this was like a generational type prospect as well. Like, I don't know if we see that kind of hype for a prospect again in the next 30, 40 years, because the hype surrounding him was insane, and he's delivering thus far. And I mean, he doesn't have the all-time record as Frank Thomas. He's 4 games shy of that. He does have the AL record, which he broke. I think it was Mickey Mantle.
Frank Robinson, not Frank Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Frank Robinson. Thank you.
Wander for Rookie of the Year.
We'll see. Maybe. I don't know if he's going to have enough, time in the majors for the Rookie of the Year.
Will his rookie eligibility even expire this year? Wasn't he called?
I don't think so.
It's already expired.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it really?
It's 130 plate appearances.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
So it expired.
Maybe. Last time I checked, his stats, he put up 3 WAR, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So I mean, we'll see right now, unfortunately. But I mean, he's good for the game. I love watching Wander. Big fan. Anyway, moving on to our next inning number 5. So, as we all know, the NFL is kicking off this weekend with the Thursday season opener being an absolute thriller, setting the tone for the season. I know this is a website and this is a podcast about baseball, but I like to have fun, and I'm not Laz, so I'm going to write dumb questions like this one. So, give me an NFL player who never got drafted by a baseball team. I want to make sure that's out there. So no picking Kyler Murray. That's mostly what I'm avoiding there. Give me a team that you think could help your favorite, your baseball team. A player in the NFL that could help your favorite baseball team. And we're going to start with James, because I know Callie doesn't love this question.
All right. This question pained me because I do not like this player.
Oh.
I do not like Tyreek Hill. I cannot stand him for many reasons, which I will not get into on this podcast. but I do not like him. But he is fast. The Dodgers are not fast. And when you see the Padres running wild on the base paths against the Dodgers and they don't really do anything about it, well, you could put someone at catcher and maybe they're better at throwing runners out. But why not counter speed with speed? Like, Albert Pujols can't run. Let's put Tyreek Hill in. Like, if he were just in for stealing bases, he could steal 40 bases in a season.
Terrence Gore type moment.
Terrence Gore. He could steal bases. I mean, if Albert Pujols gets on base, oh, hey, Albert, great job. We're putting Tyreek in. Albert wouldn't care. He knows he's not fast. Tyreek Hill zooms to second base. Oh, look. We have a runner who can score on a bloop single. Fastest player in the NFL. Tyreek Hill.
All right, Callie.
You really want Herb Washington Part 2?
Good.
If it were me, I would choose Aaron Rodgers. The A's need pitching. They're running out Paul Blackburn every fifth day. I was going to choose Patrick Mahomes at first, but then I remembered he was drafted by the Tigers.
He was drafted. So. I did limit you a little bit.
I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers was drafted.
I don't think so. I don't think Aaron Rodgers ever played baseball.
He still got one of the best arms in the NFL, and so I was thinking the A's could probably get some use out of that. It's hard because, like, baseball is such the main skill set of baseball is so isolated from every other Big Four sport that the general skills needed to succeed in one don't really translate to baseball. So you really have to get creative, and so that's why I went with Rodgers. He might not be able to throw a breaking ball, but if he can pump in strikes at a decent speed, hey, let's see if it'll work.
Rodgers was not drafted by a baseball team, but he played in high school.
Okay, that's fair.
Pick works. Just wanted to.
Yeah. I appreciate the fact checking. But I mean, yeah. Rodgers is an interesting pick just because he's so, like, old. He's not a young.
The first big arm QB I could think of that wasn't Mahomes.
I would have thought, like, Josh Allen.
Yeah, as I was talking about Rodgers, I thought Josh Allen, he's got a strong arm too, and he's more athletic as well. I was impressing him.
Yeah. Either way, though, I mean, I like the idea. Both of them. I mean, I think Tyreek Hill. I hate the guy too. He's a terrible person. But yeah, for speed reasons, it reminds me like Terrence Gore, like the Ryan Royals when they won the World Series, off basically relief pitching and speed. It can clearly work, and plus, Dodgers aren't exactly a speed demon kind of team.
Speed kills, man.
Speed kills. And then, yeah, I mean, pitching, if you're going to pick anyone, pick a guy who can throw a football 80 yards, no problem. So I like the picks. Yeah, I don't know who I would pick, honestly, personally. I think I would probably go the same route as James did with a speedster, mostly for, like, outfield defense and just base stealing. I don't think I'd pick Hill. I think I want to pick someone a little bit taller. My original thought was like Michael Gallup because he's fast and he's tall. Put him in the outfield, like maybe he can rob a home run or two because his high point's like ridiculous. But that's a Cowboys fan, and he's one of my favorite receivers and very underrated.
I will tolerate the Colorado State homer pick.
I got to see him play like in college. I got to see him play, and I'm like, man, this guy's insane. Like, this guy's crazy. Anyway, but yeah, I like writing those kind of like fun, dumb ones because the last one write them, but I will. I'll write them every now and then, but I just think it's fun. All right, inning number 6. As I realize I only wrote 6 questions, but I'll come up with something for the 7th. Don't worry. Inning number 6. So yesterday, Corbin Burns and Josh Hader combined for the 9th no-hitter of the year. This is the most no-hitters in a year in MLB history. Do you think it stays at 9, or do we see another one here with each team having roughly 20 games left to play? And we'll go to Callie.
I don't think so. Especially now that the sticky substance ban has been put in place, I think it's less likely than ever at this point in the season. The one thing that I think really could affect it is now that it's getting colder, balls aren't traveling as far. I think that could affect it, but I think the removal of sticky stuff, which will really cut down on swing and misses and strikeouts and weak contact in general, I think it will. I think they'll counter each other out, and we'll see a relatively normal rest of the season in terms of no hitters and pitching performances.
James?
I'm also gonna say no. The sticky stuff ban was crucial. I also think that the teams with like better pitchers are probably going to be more focused on saving them for the playoffs because you don't want to burn guys out. So that kind of kills a lot of that. Like they're not going to go as deep. So if anything, it would be like combined no hitters.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, like yesterday, Burns only went that deep because he had a no-hitter. If he allows a hit in like the 6th or 7th, he's pulled a lot earlier. So if we're not going to see any solo no-hitters, the combo maybe just because like it could be like a Zach Davies, like, oh, I'm going to go 6 no-hit innings and then we'll just have a bullpen
like
guy. Yeah.
I cannot believe Zach Davies started a no-hitter this year. That guy stinks.
He had more walks than strikeouts in that no-hitter.
I know,
Don't get me started. But it's a possibility. I don't see it happening, but I also didn't see 9 no-hitters happening this year. So,
yeah, fair points, I think. I think you're done talking. It seemed like you're done talking. But, yeah, I mean, 9 no-hitters is crazy just to think about in one season. And, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one. Some team who's nowhere near the playoffs. Like, we see, like, the Detroit no-hitter. We see, like, a Rockies no-hitter, something like that. As I speak, I'm just going to go for this now. Apparently, currently, there's a no-hitter going on in Cleveland again. Yeah, there is.
Oh my!
It's Eric Lauer.
Oh my God!
And it's only 5 innings so far, but still, that's kind of funny.
Zach Plesac isn't starting, is he?
No, he started yesterday. So yeah, but yeah, I think it'd be fun to see another one, but I wouldn't be surprised either. So I'll throw this question out there as well, just kind of as a fun bonus here. What was your favorite no-hitter this year then? Of the 9 you get to pick from? Because even just for you, this is kind of like not even just kind of talking about at this point. Of the 9 we've gotten this year, like what are y'all's favorite no-hitter from the season?
I'll be honest, off the top of my head, I can only think of the Cubs combined.
Well, there's the Cubs, the Brewers, Turnbull, right?
Yeah,
Turnbull?
I can only think of the Cubs,
Means,
Turnbull, and
Miley,
Brewers, obviously.
Miley,
Gilbert,
that was a good one. Oh man, I just had another one in my head.
Rondon
had one. Musgrove had one.
Miley, Means, Turnbull, Davies, Burns, Gilbert. There was another one.
There's one more we're missing here. And I feel like
Madison Bumgarner had a Kluber, yeah. Bumgarner and
Bumgarner's didn't count though.
Yeah, there are notable
Bumgarner
achievements.
and the Tampa Bay Rays had notable achievements.
Yeah. So of all those no-hitters, and we'll count the notable achievements, what was y'all's favorite? I think there are some fun ones in there.
Wade Miley for the what the F factor.
For the memes.
Yeah.
James?
I gotta say Joe Musgrove, and here's why. The first article I wrote at Diamond Digest was about Joe Musgrove right after that no-hitter. So
I do recall this.
I gotta go with the homer pick there. Joe Musgrove. I know I hate the Padres, but you're a baller. You helped me get started at this website. So you are my favorite. And I picked you over a White Sox player, which is hard to believe.
That's fair. I think for me, it's gotta be Turnbull, just because I remember, mostly because Scott predicted that no hitter, and that was just because Scott's just he's like Spencer Turnbull. He's the biggest Turnbull believer you'll find, and it was just
he's to Spencer Turnbull what Laz is to Dylan Cease.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like when it happened, I'm like, oh my gosh! I remember the Discord and Twitter blowing up like Scott, it happened. And everyone was just like so excited for him, and I remember that was just really fun. It was a really fun time, and like good for you, good for the Tigers. Like it happened, man. What a time! What a time to be alive. Man, there's also been a lot of like pretty close calls this year too, and who knows? Maybe by the time you listen to this, there might have been the 10th already if Lauer and Brewers finish us off. So we'll see.
Scherzer's gonna go hit the Padres tonight. Get his 3,000th.
Let me check something real quick.
Please do. Yeah. Like I mentioned before, I only wrote 6 questions. So the 7th question that I've just kind of trying to think of a little bit. And I like this question a little bit here. So here's our 7th inning. The White Sox and the Brewers have both been criticized for playing in weak divisions. Do you think they'll hold up in the playoffs? And if you had to pick one of those two teams to make it all the way to the World Series, which one are you taking? And I'll let you guys think about that for a second here because I just sprung that on you off the top of my head. So just think about it for a minute.
That's not a Laz question. Wait a minute.
That's not Laz. That was actually coming from John. So shout out John Principe, resident Canadian here at Diamond Digest. We have one, as far as I know, we only have one person who lives in Canada who works for Diamond Digest. Either way. Okay, I've decided that's enough time. James, what do you got?
I don't know what the state of the White Sox pitching is in, but I don't think it's good compared to where it was at the beginning of the year. So Brewers, they've been using 6 starters for most of the year, and it's working. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I fear the Brewers the most out of any National League team in a 7-game series. So Brewers, if it's not the Dodgers representing the National League in the World Series, it's probably the Brewers.
Callie.
Freddie Peralta has a career FIP in the low 3s, I believe, and he's the third best. And he's the third best pitcher on the Brewers pitching staff behind Woodruff and Burns. Burns is
he actually though? Wait, hold on.
I'm
this is shocking
sure.
information to me. Like I believe it, but like what? That's crazy.
Freddie Peralta's been good his entire career.
Yeah, that's crazy to me though. Keep going though. You're definitely on the right track.
Peralta, Burns, and Woodruff is a terrifying 3 to face in a series. Burns is having one of the greatest seasons of all time. Honestly, isn't his FIP in the low 2s? Woodruff is Brandon Woodruff. He is consistently very good. He would have been the ace had Burns not had this career year, and Freddie Peralta would be an ace on like half of the teams in the league, and he's their third best starting pitcher. they've done all this without Christian Yelich being Yelich. He's been fine, but not particularly good this year. Willie Adames has turned back into an absolute stud in Milwaukee. Their lineup, there's not a lot of peaks, but there's a consistent level of play there. There's not really one person you can point out and think, oh, well, we're going to pitch around this person to get to him. There's really no weakest link. It's all solid, and while none of it is truly spectacular outside of maybe Adames, that bullpen and that rotation is terrifying.
Yeah, the Brewers are scary, man. They're crazy. They're such a good quality team pitching wise, and pitching. I'm a full-fledged believer that pitching is really what gets you far in the regular season, in the playoffs.
It's why the Giants are in first place right now.
It is. Their bullpen's been crazy. Their starting pitching was really, really good for a really long time. It's taken a little bit of a hit. Injuries have got them kind of bad as of late, but still, it's pitching is I think the great equalizer in baseball.
It's the secret sauce, man.
Oh yeah, if you can pitch, you can neutralize the biggest offensive threats in baseball. That's just kind of how it goes. And I think the Brewers are scary in the playoffs. They really are. No discredit to the White Sox either. The White Sox were my AL pick at the beginning of the year, and I still think they would be my AL pick, if not the Rays. But the Brewers, that team's just insane. They're so talented. And plus, y'all mentioned, the 6-man rotation, that keeps their arms a little bit, fresher, a little bit healthier. So come playoff time, they can pitch those higher pitch counts, those deeper innings with no issues. And if you can get, the Brewers to the starters can get the bullpen to the 7th, 8th inning, I mean, Josh Hader is going to just shut the door on you, more likely than not. So, Devin Williams and Josh Hader are a good 8-9 combo. So, but yeah, also the Brewers just lost a no-hitter, so it's fine. Anyway, so it looks like, James, you've taken a victory in This Week in Baseball this week.
Yes.
It was a close one, 64-62. It's a close one. In case you haven't noticed, when I host these, I like to give away a lot of points. So we have really high point totals. I think Laz's usually sit around the 50s. But mine just sit around the 60s, maybe even 70s. Yeah, that was a good game. Pretty close. A lot of good points brought up. But yeah, now kind of moving on to our last bit here, our what to watch for this week, where we'll tell you what we're watching, whether that be a player, a storyline, a team, and we'll start with our winner, James.
I'm like Ted Williams. I'm batting 400 on this podcast. But what to watch for? San Diego. Please don't suck this week. But in all seriousness, Padres, Giants, and that NL West race, man, it's gonna be fun. Although not for me as a Dodgers fan. But
you're supposed to win the division by this point. You got to be
we're 13 games up in the wild card. It's one of these wild card teams does not belong in the wild card.
Fight.
Even at the Giants where you're this does not belong
still
in the
15
wild
games
card.
up. The Giants' magic number is 3.
I thought it was 5.
It was at the beginning of the day yesterday, and then they won and the Reds lost. So now it's 3.
Hunter Pence was right. What's going on in the world?
Hunter Pence is never wrong.
He is always wrong.
Never.
Just for being a Giant, he's always wrong.
He was also an Astro. He was also somewhere else, I think, too. Philly. Yeah.
He was an all-star on the Rangers. Like, why? But
was that last
whatever.
year or was that 2019?
19.
Yeah.
That was awful, but
Hunter Pence is a fantastic person.
I'm a Dodgers fan.
He was also not a Giant for his whole career. You can like Hunter Pence. It's okay.
I don't like Hunter Pence's opinions on the Giants.
He's pro-Giant.
Anyone who said before the season the Giants were going to be good, I just immediately disregarded their opinion. And it clearly is it's in my head rent-free.
I got a lot of flack at the beginning of the season for my season preview saying the Giants were going to be a 500 team. Like, I got a lot of crap for that. And look where we are now.
Should have saved the receipts, man.
Oh, I have them. Don't worry. It's also an article that we have out. Like, if you go back and look at the Giants season preview on Diamond Digest, I predicted 81 and 81. But in there I said I wouldn't be surprised if, they perform a little bit better than that.
Or a little bit
worse.
Little
did I know. It was a lot better. So, anyway, Callie, what are you watching this week?
Well, the Yankees are finishing up a series against the White Sox today, as of this recording. By the time this gets out, they're going to be playing a 3-game series against the Mariners that I think could have major implications on the AL wildcard race. The Yankees obviously in a bit of a skid. More importantly, the Mariners have become really good recently with some of their late call-ups like Logan Gilbert, Paul Sewald's amazing,
Paul Sewald.
Abraham Toro. They've become really good, and I think that their early season struggles disguise how good of a team they've become recently.
That's fair. Yeah, I think my original answer was also Padres Giants, but also Reds Dodgers. I think will be interesting because if the Reds want to stick around the wild card, they've got to win a couple of those games probably. So
they
at least one of them.
They did beat the Dodgers twice already this year.
Yeah, they're a quality team. They're a good team.
When the Dodgers forgot how to play baseball for almost a month.
Yeah, that happens, but
not to the Giants. Team. But
yeah, apparently, they forgot how to play baseball for like a week, and then they went like 2-5 for a week. But that was like in the midst of the Dodgers also forgetting how to play baseball, so it didn't really hurt.
Matter. Every game matters.
It does. Every game matters from here on out, especially in the NL West. But that's September baseball. That's what makes it so fun. And that's why it's going to be incredibly interesting to see what happens day in and day out and where they sit. But, the Giants can be the first team to officially clinch a playoff spot on Monday. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, who knows? Actually, if you listen to this right when it comes out, they wouldn't have played that game yet. But if you wait, maybe. If you listen to this on Tuesday, maybe they're already in the
I'll listen to this in October, so I'll know they will have.
If you listen to it in October, they'll be there unless they lose.
You're listening to this in 2050, and the Giants have relocated to Mars.
Yes, that's exactly what will happen. Anyway, any closing remarks from either of you, James, Callie? Anything?
Scherzer's on the mound tonight, and if he gets 6 strikeouts, he will become the 19th, I think, pitcher to reach 3,000. So a little bit of history potentially unfolding tonight against a desperate Padres team.
Yeah, look for that. Look for the Diamond Digest graphic on that too. It's a pretty good one. If you're listening, if that happens, the graphic should be on our Twitter by that
tonight. Or by the time you're listening to this yesterday.
Sean Manaea might become the first pitcher in A's history to average 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think that's something to keep an eye on.
I like Manaea a lot. I always have.
This velocity's back, and he's suddenly become a strikeout pitcher.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. He's got good vibes, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but as a not full-time A's supporter, like I feel like he's got good vibes though. I just how I feel. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for us here. We got the ticker now going at the bottom. You know where to find us, and if you don't, well, I'll tell you where to find us. We have our website, diamond-digest.com, our Twitter at diamond_digest, and our Instagram, diamond.digest. We are incredibly consistent, apparently, when we name our socials. But yeah, that'll do it for us here. Baseball's incredibly fun. We do have our own personal Twitter handles on the screen. James and Callie pointing to theirs. Mine's also right here, right there. But yeah, follow us if you want to see any content. I produce a lot of Giants content, as you'd expect. James, the Dodgers, Callie produces a lot of A's and just other random teams every now and then content. Like
I'm from
like it's pretty.
Of course, I'm gonna Of course, I'm gonna talk about the Razorbacks. Woo pig.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, that'll do it for us here for this week in baseball, episode 20 from our winner James, Callie. I am Diego, and thank you for listening. And as always, go baseball.